All right, are we recording? We are. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We're back on YouTube. It's been so long. It's been too long, guys. I'm so sorry. The last time that I made a YouTube episode, I was in my old apartment in Los Angeles. I had no idea that the Dr. Mike interview was going to be a thing. I was incredibly scared to film my YouTube video. I had all these plans in my head about starting my YouTube channel, about what I was going to do and sharing my story. And I even have an unedited, unposted version of me trying to tell my story in my old bedroom that I was never able to get through. I couldn't even have edited it. And now here we are, fast forward like 3, 4 months. And thanks to the Dr. Mike interview, so many opportunities have happened. Not only have I been able to grow my Instagram and TikTok to 70,000 followers almost on each platform, but even my YouTube, I have 5,000 subscribers here, and I honestly don't deserve it because I haven't been posting any long YouTube videos. And despite the fact that I have, like, in this iPad, nothing but different episode subjects and titles that I want to cover and stories that I want to help tell, I've just been scared to do it. But it doesn't matter because it scares me. I know that I have to dive into it and I have to do it. And I just want to thank all of you guys for watching me and watching my short form content, for following me on Instagram and TikTok, for watching the Dr. Mike podcast and some of the other podcasts and interviews that I've been on. It really does mean the world to me. Like I said, I had no idea that any of this would happen, and I had no idea that somebody like Dr. Mike would care about my story or even give my story credibility by putting me on a platform like his. So if it wasn't for that opportunity, I know that a lot of this would have never probably come about, and I probably also wouldn't have had the courage to talk about these things. I have a unedited video of me trying to tell my story that I have just never been able to put out because I was too scared. And well, now basically everyone has full access to watch my raw, unedited version of me telling Dr. Mike that story. And this is my channel. This is Beyond Skin Deep. I want to talk about so many different things, but I think for now with this, episode, I just kind of want to give you guys the update. So, in January, I went to New York. I filmed the podcast with Dr. Mike. In December, a month before, I had signed a lease for this apartment that I'm in right now in Miami, Florida. I decided that I was sick in Los Angeles for far too long. I didn't want to be there anymore. I'm coming to Florida. I'm hoping that I can get better medical care here because mycobacterium, the disease that I have in my skin, is more common, unfortunately, in Florida. A lot of plastic surgeons somehow end up infecting their clients with it. We're not really quite sure why there's a breakout here, but because the doctors and infectious disease doctors are more familiar with mycobacterium in Florida, I am hoping that I will receive some better medical care. However, just a couple updates on that. So when I did the Dr. Mike interview in January, I had my port still in my chest. I got my port taken out of my chest late February because I wasn't responding to the antibiotic treatment that I was on. We don't know if I have built up resistance after being on treatment for, 2 years plus, or what is going on. But regardless of the fact that I was doing the 6 hours of IV antibiotics daily, I still had these really annoying granulomas popping up all over my body. I literally remember me talking to Dr. Mike, like, hey, what do you think? Like, what could this be? Why are these granulomas still popping up on my body despite the fact that I'm on this treatment? Do you think it's mycobacterium? Do you think that this is immune response to foreign body materials in my body that they had injected into me that are just now starting to create a reaction? What do you think this could be? Dr. Mike cited on the fact that he thinks that I need to see a rheumatologist and that this is an immune response. And despite the many, many biopsies that I had done prior to that with my granulomas and my surgeon removing my granulomas, I was not getting a positive culture. Everyone was just saying, well, it walks like mycobacterium and it talks like mycobacterium, so it must be mycobacterium. It was not until a surgery that I got shortly after getting my port removed, probably like a day or two, where I got my granuloma on my stomach taken out. They sent that to further pathology testing, and that's where we finally got a confirmation that I do have mycobacterium in these granulomas. Again, it's just really, really hard to find like a true positive, or false negatives happen all the time with mycobacterium, and it's really difficult to test for. So that is some sad news. And despite, my doctor's desires, my infectious disease doctor's desires to put me back on the IV antibiotics, I'm pushing back because the way my surgeon described it to me, and this is a different surgeon, by the way, this is not the surgeon that said the nasty remarks about me never wearing a bikini again. I've tried to not go back to him, even though it's difficult. I'll get into that later. But this is a dermatologist. He's a derm surgeon who removed my granuloma. He said, look, these granulomas are tucked so deep in your skin that what's happening is the antibiotics are not able to reach this granuloma, one, because of poor blood flow. If there's poor blood flow, which, mind you, the medicine goes in through the port, through the vein in my chest, into my heart, through all the blood in my body, right? So that's why these antibiotics worked effectively in the first 2 years of treatment, because everything was more surface level. Everything was more accessible for my blood to reach. Now we're in such a tricky point where basically these granulomas are so deep, they're basically on my abdominal wall or my muscular wall. And we're hoping that it's not in the actual muscle tissue. But anyways, they're so deep that the antibiotics are not able to penetrate, on top of the fact that this multi-drug resistant bacteria is already difficult enough to penetrate, and it creates this really stubborn biofilm around it. That is why we believe that these granulomas were popping up despite me being on antibiotics for so long. And I do believe, and I really do feel in my heart, that the only treatment plan going forward is going to be me continually having surgeries to remove these granulomas as they pop up. For the past couple of months, while I've been kind of sitting idle watching these granulomas pop up and grow, and they're painful, I have had a lot of dark days where I'm just like, I'm so tired of this. I can't believe I'm still going through this. This is so incredibly frustrating. I have a lot of days full of fear where I'm like, am I going to have to get back on the antibiotics? What's my future looking like here? And it can be really depressing sometimes, but thankfully a few people on my TikTok commented something that really helped me change my mindset about the granulomas. And that is, look, it seems like my body is doing a really cool thing by encasing this bacteria in this ball, instead of it kind of just being around in my skin, floating. You know what I'm saying? The bacteria could be spread throughout my tissue, right? But it seems like this really cool thing is happening, that these granulomas are encasing this bacteria into this protected ball, and that it's a lot easier to excise and debris this bacteria than it would have been otherwise. So once I was able to kind of get my mindset to change around the granulomas, I've had a little less of a mental freak out. Or I've just been able to accept the granuloma situation a little bit better ever since looking at it that way. And then, I have all my other frustrations with the fact that the earliest consultation I can get for a doctor's appointment is 2 months out, and the HMO versus PPO insurance difficulty. I mean, there's so many things that are frustrating regarding, healthcare, and people all the time ask me a bunch of questions about healthcare and doctors and all this stuff. And I think the main issues with healthcare are not necessarily the doctors. From my experience, I think the doctors have been okay and they have been decent enough. But the problem is not being able to get seen by the doctors soon enough, and then insurance coverage and having certain doctors accept certain insurances and not. So that's really what I feel is the most difficult thing. But anyways, so health-wise, right now, yeah, I have 7 granulomas that I need to have surgically removed. I don't have a surgeon. I have 3 consultations with doctors that are more than a month out. The infectious disease doctor straight up was like, hey, you're going to probably have to find somebody else because I don't have an opening until September. And I'm like, wow, if I were to wait until September, I would land up in the hospital again. And then, I don't really need an infectious disease doctor as much as I need a good surgeon who can see me on a, every 6-week basis to remove whatever remaining granulomas continue to pop up. And then hopefully we reach a day where there's just no more granulomas popping up. That's basically the update on my health situation. I know it's a lot. I have no idea what's next. I pray to God that the granulomas stop, and I really pray that this bacteria stops growing. Unfortunately, when I go into the Mycobacterium group that I'm a part of, it seems like everyone else is kind of in the same shoes as me. A lot of these infectious disease doctors take them off the medications way too soon. And then they kind of go into the same relapse cycle that I'm in right now, where the bacteria continues to respawn. And, I read a comment the other day where this girl was saying how her doctor mentioned, look, this bacteria never dies. It just goes to sleep in the body. And if that really is true, I really hope that that's not true, because I can't imagine living a life like this. But at the same time, I try to be really thankful, and I do my meditations, and I pray that, a miracle happens and that one day this just all stops and that I can feel more normal. I can definitely add on the mental health side of things, I have really good days and I have bad days. Before I got sick, I absolutely loved going to the pool, going to the beach, traveling. My mom lives in Mexico, and being in Mexico is just such a part of my being. It really feels like home to me. I haven't been able to go back home because I've been, sick all these years. And being in Miami also kind of reminds me of that. And, I miss being in the bikini and being in the ocean and having fun. And I, look outside and I see all these other gorgeous girls in their bikinis and being confident, young, beautiful women. And I definitely have my moments of jealousy. But that's also one of the reasons why I wanted to move to Miami, because I knew that it would be a lot harder for me to accept how different I am and how different my skin is from everybody else. But that if it scares you, then run towards it. And so that's kind of what I'm doing here too. I have not had my day where I'm openly in a bikini yet. It's just not come yet. Hopefully it will come soon. Anyways, I just kind of wanted to do a welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Thank you so much for supporting me. I also wanted to provide you with some updates about my health. And I want to continue to assure you guys that I'm going to be as present as I possibly can. I really want to make YouTube my thing, okay? I really do. It's just hard and it's scary. And it took me an hour and a half just to figure out how to get the mic correctly set up, and I still don't know post-production if the mic and audio is even gonna work out. If it doesn't, I'm gonna look so stupid. But thank you guys so much for the outpour of love and the outpour of support. I have had nothing but the kindest comments. I absolutely could not be doing any of this if it wasn't for all the reassurance and positive and kind words that you guys give me. So thank you so much, and I promise I'm not going to let you guys down. Also, if you don't hate Instagram or TikTok, you can follow me there for some of my behind the scenes vlogs and short form content, or just daily stories where I talk about my life and right now really my fight for pushing for legislative change, which is really, really difficult. But it's something that I'm going to tackle anyways, because if I'm going to grow a platform, then I might as well create some positive change around my platform and ensure that other people don't have to deal with situations like mine, and also hope that the people who are opening up these fraudulent med spas or these plastic surgeons that are cutting corners and infecting people with diseases like Mycobacterium, that, they too face their consequences. And, I'm not going to stop until I see the people that did this to me facing some kind of consequence and facing prison time. So hopefully, who knows? But anyways, thank you so much, guys. Bear with me while I get the hang of all this YouTube stuff. I will see you next week for another episode. I promise. Peace.